Have You Seen Us? Is a play by Athol Fugard, first performed on December 2, 2009 at the Long Wharf Theatre in New Haven, Connecticut. The setting of the play is a sandwich shop in a small shopping mall in Southern California on Christmas Eve. This is Fugard's first dramatic play that is set in the United States. The protagonist of the play, Henry Parsons, a 63-year-old expat South African professor of medieval English literature, is a lonely and bitter man. Alcoholism has torn apart his family, and the dwindling demand for his vocation has driven him to leave South Africa in search of work overseas. He frequents a sandwich shop where he engages in hostile banter with Adela Venegas, an overweight Hispanic waitress in her 30s. In the opening monologue of the prologue, Henry reflects on a significant moment in his life that started with a chance encounter at the sandwich shop. Henry's journey towards Epiphany begins during a previous encounter with Solly and Rachel, who corrects him when he wishes them a happy Christmas despite their being Jewish. Henry's daily antagonism toward Adela takes an unexpected turn when they bond over a missing persons flyer featuring two Latino women. Adela believes they are a mother and daughter fleeing domestic abuse, revealing her own pent-up anger. Henry, on the other hand, shares his troubled history, including his broken promise to stay sober for his estranged daughter. This moment of shared vulnerability is preceded by a previous encounter with an elderly couple, Solly and Rachel, which prompts Henry to seek forgiveness for his ugly feelings. When Solly forgives him, Henry experiences a moral epiphany. Henry's prejudice and self-loathing are gradually exposed, but the arrival of Solly and Rachel triggers a transformation in him. Their presence challenges his beliefs and ultimately leads to his realization that love and forgiveness can conquer hate. The play ends with Henry addressing the audience to inform them that after the events at the sandwich shop and his moral epiphany, he never saw any of those three people again. After a few weeks, he went back to the shop but found it empty, locked and sold. He tried to find Adela but was unsuccessful. In the opening monologue, Henry alludes to having experienced a moral epiphany that changed his perspective and had an enormous impact on his life. He explains that this realization was not a work of a single moment but was a series of those simple little accidents. Those seemingly insignificant coincidences that changed the trajectory of his thought process. It was similar to a domino effect, starting his simply wishing a happy Christmas to an elderly couple that walked past him on a Christmas Eve 2 years ago. Instead of returning the wish, Solly informed him that they were Jewish. Later he saw a Nazi symbol with an insulting message for Jews drawn on the ground in a parking lot. Moreover, his re-encounter with the elderly couple and Solly's singing of a Jewish folk song to comfort his wife triggered a moral realization of him being brought up with hatred for Jews. These incidents started a butterfly chain reaction inside Henry, questioning his bigoted beliefs and resulting in him overcoming his prejudices per Henry. The journey from hate to love is the shortest my heart has ever made. He asks Solly for forgiveness, citing "I hated you." Parsons tells Solly, "And now I love you." This realization is tied with the core message of the play, which is recognizing, acknowledging, and combating prejudices. In the opening monologue, Henry reveals his bog of self-pity and that he is addicted to humiliation, referring to his trips to the sandwich shop where he engages in playing an ugly little game of trading insults and offensive jibes with the Mexican waitress. He verbally attacks her physiology and ethnicity by belittling her for being less educated, bulky and of Hispanic origin, as he calls her a tub of Mexican grease and an overweight, uneducated Mexican waitress. On the other hand, Adela correctly assumes him to be a viejo sucio borracho perdido, meaning a lost, dirty old drunk. From her perspective, this banter seems one-sided, as Henry appears to be an annoying customer who gains the upper hand in a show of power by threatening her with a report to the immigration authorities. The play is titled after the missing persons leaflet called "Have You Seen Us?", serving as a cautionary reminder for the invisible and missing ethnic groups that are marginalized and suffering in a predominantly discriminatory world. Henry's dismissive response of using these leaflets as bookmarks hints at the flippant attitude of the general public and authorities regarding matters of racial and domestic abuse. On the other hand, Adela's declaration of "I know why they are missing" and "I know their story" is a way of giving voice to the voiceless and telling their stories to raise awareness. Her response also indicates that compassion and humanity are not dead and there is still room for redemption and healing. Henry realizes his deep-seated prejudice and hostility toward ethnicities other than his own. He divulges that these racist beliefs were inculcated in him and in others of his generation who lived in the apartheid South Africa. Henry realizes these vile and poisonous anti-Semitic beliefs were inside me. They are a part of my heritage as a South African. Passed on to me. He left South Africa in an attempt to escape this hatred but had carried it inside him all these years. Now, after a chance encounter with Solly and Rachel, he was rid of these beliefs. Fugard passes the message that if we try, acknowledge and work towards healing ourselves of hatred, we can achieve redemption and forgiveness ultimately, just as Solly forgives Henry. The themes of exile and displacement are prominent in the play. Henry left his native nation voluntarily to search for work in a foreign land, yet he remains a stranger in a country where he lived for 15 whole years. He informs that he is a teacher of a dead language as he teaches Old English literature to the students who are uninterested or metaphorically the dead. He's nostalgic and homesick for South Africa, but by the end of the play, he realizes that he is distanced geographically, socially, and morally from his native country. He disconnects and dissociates himself from the prejudice and hatred present in the air and water of the land he calls home. Moreover, he is divorced and detached from his family as well. He chose alcohol addiction over his marriage and estranged daughter. It appears he is exiled and isolated from his own skin in a way. Adela is an illegal immigrant in California from Mexico. Like Henry, she is also nostalgic for her homeland. She came to California in search of livelihood and a better life. She is reluctant to go back to Mexico despite her longing for her homeland and a clear threat from Henry to have her extricated to Mexico. The elderly Jewish couple seems Eastern European and two very lost old people from the look of things in a strip mall sandwich shop in Southern California. They are unable to find food of their choice and stuck with limited food options. They have difficulty in communication due to language barriers. It can be assumed that the couple are a reference to the displacement and diaspora of Holocaust victims. The characters voluntarily left their homelands to settle in foreign nations but appear to be longing for their native countries, leading to the themes of nostalgia and belongingness. Henry sings a song in Afrikaans about a baboon atop a mountain who teases the farmers, remembering the landscape of South Africa. Adela sings a song in Spanish about the beautiful sky and the mountain range that pleases the heart. She reminisces about her grandmother who was a soldier during the Mexican Revolution and remembers her brother back in Mexico. Solly sings a folk song to soothe his wife over the loss of their son. The characters express nostalgic memories and yearning for their native land by singing folk songs of their nation and are uncomfortable in their surroundings.